Charter application for River City Education Services, Inc. to open River City Science Academy Innovation Charter School. The Duval County School Board approved the application submitted by River City Education Services, Inc. to open River City Science Academy Innovation, a charter school in the 2013-2014 school year. Mr. Superintendent, is this your recommendation?
This is my recommendation.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? The discussion, this item was pulled by Board Member Gentry and Board Member Couch. Ms. Couch.
I was just gonna say, I have my same general remarks, but this charter school has a special focus on math and science, and has had a very good record in our community.
Ms. Couch.
On the south side, elementary schools in the Beach Boulevard area have about 80% utilization. Middle schools are 78%. Again, it's that planning issue. I do have a question. You should just stay at the microphone. I think this is the last one, so we're good at does this charter school contract with an EMO?
No.
Okay. And they, do they intend on opening in the same facility that they currently have? Do you know that?
No, they had planned to open approximately 10 to 14 miles away from their current location because they have such an overflow on their waiting list. According to their application, this was one way to basically fill another school because they can add from their waiting list.
And so they would have a different facility?
It would be a different facility.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it. Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to express that the reason that I am voting no for all of these charter schools is that when we look at the utilization of some of the existing schools, yet we've had a report to say that some of our current schools should be closed because of low utilization, and then we approve charter schools, I think we're helping the case. And I think that it's incumbent upon us who were elected to serve Duval County Public Schools to look at how we are helping possibly close even more public schools so that even more charter schools can open. Because if the utilization is a reason that some people want to close some of our existing schools, then how do we then approve charter schools with utilization as low as 73% of existing schools in the area? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion?
Just
Yes, Ms. Couch.
again, for the record, I am not against competition. I am against creating a false sense of competition when you give an unfair advantage to one opponent over the other. And that is why I've pulled these for this evening. Also, I want to really have us focus on our utilization, on our planning for the future. And if this is what it takes to get that conversation started, not only in our district, but at the state level and in the community, then that is why I've pulled all of these for discussion. It is not one school over another. It has nothing to do with that. It is about planning for the future and thinking about what the outcomes may be from having so many of these come in, and creating a tiered system in which we can take kids and say, your parent didn't show up for volunteer hours, so you've got to go back to the neighborhood school. Well, we're starting to create a hierarchy of schools. And I just think that we really need to think through this as a state. And so it is not about being afraid of competition, which is what most people will say. It is about having an equal playing field and planning for the future so that our children get the best education, no matter if it's a charter school or a traditional school.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I have
Mr.
one-
Gentry.
One comment, I fully endorse, Mrs. Couch's concerns. I do think there is a distinction between the virtual school that we were dealing with, a school that, I have concerns about paying a management fee of $400,000 by an operation that's now wanting to operate 4 schools. And there are issues with some of these charters that have caused me concerns, regardless of the other bigger issues, which I think we do need to talk about. I look at River City Science, though, and this school has been very successful. They provide very valuable services. They are committed to the community. They're embedded here in our community, and I would hate to see them be collateral damage of this philosophical policy issue that's being raised. And so I would hope that the board will affirmatively vote for River City Science.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Lee? Yes, Mr. Lee.
I probably, I think Ms. Couch knows how I feel about most of this stuff, as I think all the board members do. The charter school stuff is just a nightmare, and the level playing field drives me crazy. But I think in this case, I'm very concerned that River City becomes collateral damage. They have shown time and time again to be a great partner with us, and we do have to get this discussion going and really get into it with our legislators on this thing, because I have no doubt in my mind, just as you said, Ms. Couch, and I think how well I know all my fellow board members, we're more than willing to compete with anybody who wants to come into our district. But there are definitely some disadvantages here. But I will tell you, I am biased on River City, because I've seen what they've done. I tell people all the time when they get up in my face, I say, look, I'm about educating children in Northeast Florida. It's not about the adults, and somehow or another we end up talking. We've talked mostly tonight about adults than we have about children. All these different profits, organizations that basically want to exploit our children. But I think we've got to make a commitment as a board to start this discussion, this philosophical discussion, see how we're going to sort out all this utilization issues, all these other things. But I don't want to see this one become a collateral damage. But that's my opinion.
I've not weighed in on any of them, but I do think I need to weigh in, and the reason that I need to weigh in is that I've said and I've listened to to all of the arguments, and I think my fellow board members know how I feel about charter schools. However, there is one thing that I think that has been inherently unfair, and that is, I don't know Lucius and Emma Nixon, I don't know Renaissance, but the point that I want to make is, in the same way that River City was given an opportunity to show who they were, this board has denied 2 other groups an opportunity to show whether or not they could do the same thing. If we're using the argument, I think that the argument tonight is against the wrong entities. We are penalizing people who went through a process that was set forth by the state and by this district. They didn't make the rules. They didn't do anything. The state, our legislators, made the rule. And that's who we need to be balking up against. And we are not balking up against them. We're balking up against the people who followed the rules. There was a book provided by the Magnet Office for charter schools, and apparently those groups went through and did exactly what they were supposed to do. I'm the first one that always says, I mean, I believe that I I know what is happening with the charter school industry. But fair is fair, and we must be fair. And we've not been fair. And this is just me. This is my opinion, in the way that we have denied 2 schools an opportunity. But using the same argument, we're not going to do the other. And I dare not vote against River City. I didn't vote against any of the 2. I would never vote against River City. I think they've done a wonderful job. But I think that we've denied 2 others also. We don't know whether or not they would have done a wonderful job. We don't know whether or not children would have been helped. We don't know a whole lot of things because we're making a statement against the state by this vote, as opposed to making the statement to the state. So that's my only concern, is that I think that we need to take the argument to where the argument belongs and not penalize people for it. Mr. Azuri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with what you said. They went by the rules, I guess. Most of them did. Some of them,
No, they did. They all did.
well, I understand that, but I mean, I have to base my vote every time on any issue, whether it's charter schools or anything else, on what I perceive and what I see as reality and where I think individual items come from. I voted against a couple of 3 of them because I felt like they may have met the rules, but I don't think they complement what, in my judgment, whether they go by whatever the state, and I agree with you, Ms. Burney, the state is at fault for a lot of things that they put on our districts. But more importantly, I look at Renaissance, for example, as a separate item because I think they complement what we're trying to do in this district. Just like parochial schools do, just like private schools do. I may not like all the private schools, don't have any say about that, or the parochials, but we certainly, or homeschools even, but we certainly do in these instances. And Renaissance is one that I wish was a public school. Not Renaissance, excuse me, River City is like a public school. And I look at them, and we've all been over there, and I'm not going to prejudge these others. If they come back in some other form or fashion, and some of the things that maybe Ms. Couch has talked about tonight will be clarified and more specific and makes us feel more comfortable, or this next board feel more comfortable, then that's fine. But you have to vote on what you see in front of you, what you read, no matter whether the state sends it down to you or not. And again, this is another instance with River City that they've demonstrated time and again that they can complement what we're trying to do in providing the best education we can for our students. So,
Ms. Wright.
I have a question, Ms. Bueller. When the charter school applications are denied, what's the next step for them?
The next step then is for them to contact the state and appeal to the state, or they can choose not to appeal to the state. After that happens, then the state hears the appeal through the appeals committee, or the appeals commission, I should say, and then that recommendation is given to the state board. And then the state board votes on it just like you do. And
it could be overturned. Our decision tonight could be overturned.
Yes.
And Madam Chair, I agree with you in terms of consistency. And what I am doing as voting no on all of them is being consistent, because I know there's a second process for the adults to take it to the state for the appeal process. But what I have a problem with is I'm not trying to pick and choose which one I think would be successful or not. What I am trying to do as a board member is to get the information before the state so that as a district, perhaps we can help the state to understand some of the challenges that they're forcing on us as a district. But I think that when we begin to say, oh, I like this person, or this is a good partner, and that's not a good partner, that's the problem that we're gonna have as a district. Because we are picking and choosing, as opposed to sending a clear, consistent, focused message. Dear legislators, please take a look at what you're doing when you are crafting the legislative process for charter schools, and how it negatively impacts not just districts, but students and communities. But if we pick and choose, then the state has an opportunity to say, you're inconsistent. And it's based upon who you like rather than the process. And so I'm hoping that we get to a point where we simply look at the process and how we as a board will send a message about the process and not individual schools.
Chair, can I just say one more
Yes,
thing?
sir.
The difference for me in this is the other applicants are new, and you're right. And we're not gonna be consistent in that way because we don't know what they can do. In this instance with River City, they've demonstrated their success and what a charter school can be about. That's why I'm voting for them. No other reason. If they were new coming in, I'd have some concerns, because I'd wanna know more about it. But I do know what we need to know about River City because they've come and they've conquered education, as far as I'm concerned, as far as how they want to teach as a successful charter school.
Any further discussion? Please register your vote. By a vote of 5-2, you've approved the application for the River City Education Services, Inc. Charter School.